it's Lindsay with Empower Movement Physical Therapy. Ski season is upon us, or snowboarding season. And if it's your first time out on the slopes, you know that night after you get back, you're gonna start feeling kind of sore and stiff. And then the next day, you're probably gonna feel even more sore and stiff. No matter how much you train for it, unless you're skiing or snowboarding all year long, it's still a novel activity. So you're going to have some soreness. Now, obviously, you do wanna be as physically prepared for it as possible. And Crystal went over some really cool exercises that you can do to strengthen the muscles that you need for those particular sports. But what I wanna talk about is recovery. So that night after you get back off the slopes, some things that you can do before you head out to the lodge and have a hot toddy and sit in front of the fire, or go hang out in the hot tub, which also very, very good for you. So hop in the hot tub, go let those jets hit some of your sore spots. That'll really help you feel better for the next day. The other thing too is hydrate, 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 especially if you're in the mountains. It's much drier out there. Your muscles and your joints need that lubrication. So make sure that you are really pushing the fluids even before you leave, just to get yourself pre-hydrated. Now, as far as recovery is concerned, if you're bringing your own gear, or even if you're not, a lacrosse ball and a stretching strap take up very little space in your suitcase. So there's no excuse for you not to bring these. Common areas that are sore after you've been out on the slopes include your quads, your calves, and your hamstrings. So if you want to work on some of the specific muscle knots in your quads, calves, and hamstrings, here's some things you can try. And depending on the level of torture you want to get into, you can lean into these as much as you want. So for your quads, you take your lacrosse ball, you're gonna lay it on your stomach, put the lacrosse ball underneath your thighs, and then roll around and see if you can find any tender spots. These things like to hang out right in the middle of the muscle or more toward the end. So if you get a little closer to your kneecap, kind of on either side, just above your kneecap, oftentimes there's some good stuff living in there. And then get the ball underneath there, find that sore spot, and then bend your knee nice and slow, get as far as you can, and then bring it back down. That'll help the lacrosse ball really dig into that muscle, and it works really, really nice on those specific sore spots. And spend a good 30 seconds to 2 minutes doing this, at least 30 seconds per spot. But then roll around, find another spot, go side to side, go up and down. You wanna go both with the fibers and against the fibers to get really into them. Then for your hamstrings, you simply flip over, put the ball anywhere between your butt and your knee. That's hamstring land. Do watch out for the sciatic nerve that does run directly down the middle of the back of your leg. If you put the ball somewhere and it starts zinging tingles down into your foot, that's your sciatic nerve. It doesn't like lacrosse balls, stay off. So move to either side if you need to a little bit. And then same deal. Get that ball underneath and find any of those tender spots and just breathe and let your legs sink down into the ball. You also can cross your other leg over the top, give yourself a little bit more pressure. You also can try leaning into it and leaning out of it. That'll put your hamstring on stretch and it'll release it. You also can do this sitting in a chair, and if your knees are bent and your feet are on the floor, get that ball underneath you and then bend and straighten your leg, and that'll also dig into that hamstring. Then finally, your calves, especially skiers. Those ski boots put you in such a weird position that normally you are never in for that amount of time. Your calves are gonna be feeling it. So get the ball underneath your calves, either go down the middle or on either side, and find any sore spots. Usually they like to hang out in the bulky muscle part of it, or in your soleus, which is another muscle in your calf, kind of on either side of your Achilles. Get that ball under there, find a tender spot, and then you can flex and extend your foot and just go back and forth. And same deal, 30 seconds at least per spot or longer if you need it. If you want a little more pressure, put your other foot on there, and then bend and flex your foot, and you'll feel that a lot more. Move that ball side to side, up and down. Just really get into those areas. That'll bring a ton of blood flow and really help, heal those tissues, help flush out some of that lactate that's gonna build up in there throughout the day. Then you can head into the hot tub. Then you can head over into the lodge and have your little hot toddy and feel a lot better going into the next day. Thanks, guys.